Hi guys, and welcome back to Beauty Fortified. My name is Sue and I make videos for the more mature woman on skincare, hair care and makeup. If you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing or at least leave a comment down below. I'd love to know where you're from. I'm getting to meet so many people on this platform. I've already got friends in Alabama, Italy, the UK, so I'm feeling quite international. So let me know where you're from. It's good to have you here. Today's video is all about brushes, and I'm going to be focusing on face brushes and cheek brushes. Now, I've broken up the series into two different parts because there's just so much to talk about. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So just going back, doing a little retrospective on makeup brushes. Now, up until as recently as 20, maybe 25 years ago, and I do consider that quite recent, makeup brushes were the domain of very high-end luxury brands, and they were very expensive and very difficult to come by. But the last 15 years has seen an absolute explosion of makeup brushes onto the market, and there are many, many different brands. And like technology, they have become a lot more affordable and accessible to the masses. And now every makeup artist worth their salt has got their own range, and there are also a lot of high street brands that are really, really good. So now you don't really need to spend a lot of money to get a really good quality brush. So what did we use before brushes were a thing? Well, I remember back in the 80s, you would get little brushes like that or something similar to that. This in fact came with quite a recent Estee Lauder blush. And we used little applicators like that for our eye makeup. And if you were lucky, you might have got something like that with an applicator on one end and a brush on the other end. And this is what we used in the 80s, and our makeup was absolutely fine. But again, much like technology, brushes are now far more accessible, and we wonder how we ever did without them. So today I'm going to give you an overview of cheek and face brushes. And this is just to give you a guide of some of the things to look for. If you're starting out, you're a little bit overwhelmed, there's just so much on the market, you don't know what you should be buying. Should you be getting really high end? You might just be a little bit confused about the whole story. So I've broken it down, and this serves just to give you some guidance as to what's what. And remember that makeup brushes are interchangeable. So one brush might have a few different purposes. And what you end up choosing in the end is really down to personal preference. So onto the face brushes. So the first thing that you might want to get is a foundation brush. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with these guys. Back in the 80s, early 90s, if you went to a MAC counter, this is what they used to apply your foundation with. Now, personally, I don't like this to apply foundation because I find that it makes a foundation quite streaky. But something like this is brilliant for patting on under eye concealer or concealer around the nose, or even a little bit of powder. And you can also use this to apply a face mask. If you've got a clay mask, you can use this as opposed to your fingers. So it's absolutely brilliant for that. The kind of foundation brush that I like to use looks something like this. This is a Zoeva one. And then I've got a Real Techniques as well. Now these two are very, very similar. They do exactly the same job. I've just got a couple of each because I like to keep them in rotation so that I don't need to wash them all the time. So that's a really good one. Or you might want to use a duo fiber stippling brush. So this is from the Real Techniques range. And this is also lovely. It's really very soft. So again, it really just depends on what your preference is. But this is also great for buffing in foundation. And now onto powder brushes. So this is actually a Real Techniques blush brush, but I do find that it's just a little bit too big for applying blush. I like to be quite precise when I apply my blush. And this works really well as a powder brush. So I use this for loose powder, and I really love it. It's just quick and easy. Another option that you could look at is something a little bit bigger, does exactly the same job. You can also use this to brush powder on your décolleté, And this is a really lovely soft one and just gives you a beautiful quick powder application. Really love something like that. Another option for applying compact powder would be this powder brush from Zoeva, and this has got more of a flat top, which makes it perfect for dipping into compact powders and just applying in a kind of patting motion. So something like this would work really well for compact powder. And then you might want something that is a little bit smaller for more precise powder application, and this is a MAC. I'm not quite sure what the number on this is, but this is lovely for just very precise powder application, and you could even use this for blush application as well. So this is also a really nice one. And then something a little bit different. So this is a tapered foundation brush. And I find that something like this is really good for under the eyes, for just applying foundation under the eyes, again around the nose. Or if you want very precise application, this is also really good for that. Really like that one. Another one which is also very similar is this tapered brush, and you can definitely use this for powder under the eyes. You could also use this as a contour brush for cheek contour. It works really well for that, for putting a little bit of contour down your nose, or again just for precise powder application. It's always nice to have something that's a little bit more precise in your collection. Then I've got this brush. This is a Zoeva shaping brush, and I mean, you can use this to apply a cream contour. It's quite dense, the bristles are quite dense and compact, or you could use it to contour the nose, or again for precise powder application. This also works really well for concealer. If you've concealed any spots on your face and you just want a seamless kind of blend, you can just use this to blend out the concealer, and it works really well for that. Then a couple of other ones I've got for the face. I've got this is quite an interesting, this is a no-name brand. I think I got this from Dischem, and it's got a slanted head, and this does work really well for the eyes, for eyeshadow application in the crease, but I really like it for contouring the nose. It just kind of fits perfectly into the contour of the nose. It's really a good one for that. So I really like using that for contouring, or you could even use it to put a little bit of highlight down the center of your nose. Another option for contouring the nose is this one. This is a Clinique. This is actually an eyeshadow brush, but I find it a little bit awkward to use, especially with my slightly hooded eyes. So you could use this for contour as well. Just dip it into your contour the sides of your nose, or if you wanted to be quite precise with your cheek contour, you could use it for that as well. And then I've got another concealer blending brush. This is also great for blending concealer under the eyes, and it's also great for blending where you've spot concealed places, spots on your face. It's really good for that. Very precise, nice one to use. And then two more for the face. This one is a brush for applying under eye concealer. So it's very similar to the MAC foundation brush. Where's that one gone? It's just on a much smaller scale. And it just gives you lovely concealer application. You can just lay down the concealer quite precisely under your eyes or around your nose. You can also use this for cream eyeshadow. So again, it's got quite a few different uses. And then finally, I have got a spot concealer brush. So this has got a very, very fine head, and it's got quite stiff bristles, but this is great for doing spot concealing. So if you've just got tiny little areas, you just dip this into your concealer, and then you can just pinpoint and conceal the spots that need doing. So something like this is also quite handy to have. Moving on to cheek brushes, and again, this is really down to preference, but I've got a couple of options to show you. And the first one is this Smashbox blush brush. Now, this looks like nothing on earth. It looks like a bit of a ragamuffin brush. The bristles are all splayed, but this actually works amazingly well. I don't know what it is. I haven't been able to figure out what it is about this, but it's just got a lovely application. Just really has. And this would be great for using a very pigmented blush if you want to just add a little dot of color and you wanted to blend, you want to diffuse the color. So anything that's highly pigmented, you want to diffuse the color. This is great for that. It's a really, really nice one. Absolutely love that one. Then I've got another option also for powder blush. This is a Bobbi Brown, and this is quite a dense brush, and it's really nice for precise blush application. It's really, really nice. You just pack it on and pat the color onto your cheeks. It's a really nice, firm one. If you want to be quite sure about where your blush is going, you might want to use something else to blend it out afterwards. You might want to do that just to diffuse the color afterwards. But this is great for quite precise blush application. And then I have got an Ecotools blush brush, and this I use for cream blush because the bristles are quite condensed, and it's a soft brush, but the bristles are quite tightly packed. So I love this for cream blush. You just dip it into your blush and then just stamp it onto the cheeks. And it's really good for that. So easy to wash, dries quickly, and would highly recommend something like that. You can, of course, use this for powder blush as well. And then I have a contour brush, and this is slightly slanted. This is great for contour for obvious reasons, because it just kind of fits under your cheekbone like that. And I also use this for bronzing. I'll take the tall end, if you want to call it that, and just dip it into the bronzer, and then just brush it against my hairline up into the forehead, and it makes for really good, precise bronzing application. So really love that. And then I've got two left. So these are highlighting brushes, and they are both very different animals, but they both work really, really well. So this one is a Real Techniques, I think it's called a shaping brush. I use it for highlight because it just gives a lovely, precise application. That's what I like about it. It's just really, really good for that. And of course you can use it for precise powder application. Again, a lot of these brushes are quite interchangeable, and it's just a question of finding what works for you. The last highlighting brush is this one. This is a Body Shop one, and this is lovely if you're going into a highlight that's quite pigmented but you want to diffuse it. So you just dip it into your highlight, and it just gives a really beautiful diffused highlight glow to your cheekbones. You can also use it down the center of your nose, so really good for that, and you can just use it on your top lip as well. So guys, that's it for face and cheek brushes. I'm going to link a video up above that I did on how to wash your brushes. It's very important to wash your brushes quite carefully and look after them. If you do, they will last you a lifetime. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified of part 2 in my series. And I will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.